the link. We will be starting shortly. Okay, there we go. Thank you for everyone who's joined us so far. Or anyone who joined us after, we welcome them. I want to say, Edlin has been reminding people to please complete the QR code. The link has been placed in the chat, but it's also on the screen on the presentation in the corner. We need you all to do that. Participation in that was not very strong last month. But we need it. This is how we're able to keep our data, keep up updated information for all of you, and in also our engagement with new partners. So please take the time to complete it. It takes less than a minute. We appreciate your support in that. Now, with that said, we always like to share during this meeting our mission for the East Flatbush Community Partnership. And before I say that, let me introduce myself for anyone that's new. My name is Cindy Reed with the East Flatbush Community Partnership, and usually who kicks it off is the director, Lamecca Holmes. She's not feeling well today, but the team is gonna take care of you today in her absence. As I was saying, the mission for East Flatbush Community Partnership is improves access and coordinates resources between residents and service providers that support child and family well-being and the community capacity to thrive. Our vision is equal opportunities where every family succeeds. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay, for our agenda, we just started off with the welcome. We're going to share our updates. We have two main speakers, one from LEAP and one from the Center for Community Alternatives. We're going to have all of you share any program updates that you have, and then we're going to close it out. So now we're going to have the Melissa share the updates. Melissa, are you with us?
I am here.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa. I'm the community ambassador with East Flatbush Community Partnership. So we're just going to briefly go over our weekly newsletter. So if you do have any events or any flyers that you would like to be included in that, please, you can email that to Sydney. Email address is readc@jccany.org. Also, we have our monthly meeting presenter flyer, right? So if you guys also want to talk about your organization or what you do, you can also be a presenter at one of these meetings as well. And also, please, if you haven't done so already, you can scan the QR code just for our attendance for this meeting. Next slide. So if you haven't done so already, you can also visit our website. It's eastflatbushpartnership.org. There you can see about our organization and the events we have coming up, different links and resources for residents and also for you guys as service providers. Also, if you are interested in volunteering or donating towards the organization. So our general meeting, which is where you guys are today, we have it every fourth Thursday of every month, and that's from 3 to 5 p.m. So we do have a hybrid model. We do in person and also virtual, just due to the inclement weather is the reason why we're fully virtual today. So we hope to see you guys at our next meeting that we hope is going to be in person as well, and that's at My Time Inc. And also, we have something called a virtual open door meeting. We do that every second Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. This is kind of more like a workshop based, basically geared to different things that the residents need within the community. They could have, more hands on kind of conversational meeting, things like that. So that is every second Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. So past events. So we recently had an event right after we had our last meeting. I guess we go to the next slide. And that was the slime science lab. So that was actually held at the Real, which is located on North Street Avenue here in East Flatbush. The kids had an awesome time. They were able to do STEM or STEAM related exercises, and they created their own slime, and they had a great time. So I think there's a video just to do a recap of what that was, but they enjoyed it and they got to take home their own slime. They got snacks. They had opportunity to, meet and talk and play. So it was an awesome experience as well. So hope to see you
I'll
guys at
show
the
the
next event.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead,
Melissa.
Cindy.
I appreciate that. I'll show the video now. 1 second. Damn.
In the meantime, because I will be enforcing it a lot today, if you have not filled out our attendance form, please fill it out. The link is on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Adeline.
You're welcome.
Sorry. Okay, so that was just a snippet of that great event, and the video was created by Miss Melissa, the owner of Real Empowerment, who started that after school program providing affordable funding in the community. So I'll bring back up the presentation. Okay, so upcoming events. We have started a financial empowerment series. We kicked it off this Monday with the first workshop was on the 7 milestones of money. The 7 milestones of money, yes. And the series will continue to take place on Mondays with March 2nd, March 9th, and March 16th at 7 p.m. to 8:30. This is a virtual workshop, so we encourage families to attend. Some powerful information being shared. I believe that the next workshop coming up, the focus will be about taxes. There'll be a continued part 2 about the 7 milestones of money. And then the last workshop that would wrap it up on March 16th will be credit and credit cards. So we're going to put this in the chat along with the registration link for all of you to help us get the word out. We had a great turnout on Monday and want to continue to grow on that for the powerful information that is shared. And this is in collaboration with Brooklyn Healthy Start. We also have started in collaboration with Real Empowerment, Earth App, and Morris Height Health Center with, well, it's in partnership where we're also hosting youth programs. But during that time, we will have a real parent circle. This will be a time for families to reflect, receive information so that they're empowered, have an opportunity to advocate on any issues that they want to advocate on. And there's various workshops that will provide information on health and anything that they benefit from. So we're kicking off that this Saturday. It's going to be hosted at 1805 Notion Avenue from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. We'll also be dropping the registration for that in the chat. So please help us get the word out for that as well. And then that youth workshop that I was mentioning that we'll continue to be on, which will be on the fourth Saturday of each month. The next one's taking place this Saturday. It will be Kids in Tech, happening again at the Real Empowerment After School location at 1805. It will be happening from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Registration is full because space is limited. But please, just to let families know that this is an opportunity that's coming up on the fourth Saturday of each month. So there'll be other chances to participate. And we want to share this on behalf of the Brooklyn Public Library because they're not able to attend, but they have a great business session planning on March 12th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., which is virtual. So we'll be also dropping this in the chat for anyone that could benefit from this. So please help us get the word out. That's one of the ways we make sure that our families stay in power, which is keeping them informed about the opportunities the community is offering. Now, if you haven't gotten a chance, please put your name in the chat along with your email if you're a resident. And if you are a service provider, we ask for you to put your name, email, and organization in the chat as well. And now I'm going to hand it over to Edlin.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Edeline. I'm the administrative assistant here at the East Flatbush Community Partnership. So we will be starting off with our first presenter. Her name is Gloria. She is the project manager at the LGBTQ and Education Acceptance Project, LEAP. So so we'll pass it on over to Gloria.
Thank you so much for having us today. My name is Gloria Soto. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm going to try and share. Hopefully it works. Let me know if you can see what I see.
Yes, it's there.
Perfect. With me today, also Monroe is the health educator for the LEAP project. That's the LGBTQ plus education acceptance program. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we do and who we are. Thank you again for having us today. And yeah, I'm going to get us started. Am I? Let's see. There we go. So a little bit about us. It's been very well documented that the LGBTQ plus youth experience acceptance from their families have much better outcomes regarding health, mental health, with regards, than those that experience rejection by their families. I have not had the afternoon coffee, so my apologies again. So again, we're talking about LEAP and why we're focusing on promoting family acceptance of LGBTQ plus youth. And that is because there's a lot of documentation and research for the last 2 decades, at least, that really is showing and evidence that when families are more accepting of the LGBTQ plus youth, those youth do much better in life as adults. Not only families, but also when the community members, there are community members that support them, such as mentors, teachers, coach, extended family. Again, they do better overall in their life with regards to physical, mental health, and overall well-being. So in Canva, LEAP is focusing on doing an initiative that focuses on creating community level change so that many young people or more young people that experience acceptance and in turn do better in life. We're serving Queens and Brooklyn, and some of our offerings are listed here. We do educational workshops or LGBTQ plus basics, how to support the queer or trans youth. These are traveling workshops that, such as the one we're doing today. We can also do them in person. We're covering Brooklyn and Queens. So if you have any group that you think would benefit from the basics of cultural competency 101 on LGBTQ, we're happy to come over and, do a presentation and have a conversation with the community, professional development, or anything that any group that will have us. We've been to churches, we've been to a lot of PTAs. So again, if you just make sure that at the end you keep my information and contact us. We also do the parent and caregiving workshop series. We were doing a series of six weekly meetings for an hour where we cover different topics that are of interest for parents of LGBTQ plus youth. We're really targeting, again, the parents of caregivers of the LGBTQ plus youth, especially those families that are having a little bit more trouble really don't know how to support their young person. We do one-on-one counseling for the caregivers, for the family members. We do conflict mediation for families when the youth lives or continues to be in their care of the caregiver and the youth is under 21. In that case, we will do conflict mediations for those families. And besides that, the direct services, the groups, and the counseling, we do social marketing campaigns, we do role model stories. And for the youth, the only service we do is we have a filmmaking workshop that we do once a year. Really, it's a session of 2 months every Saturday, where we really give tools to the youth so they can tell their story with filmmaking. Every service is, of course, free, bilingual in Spanish and English. And a little bit again about our goals. It's to increase, obviously, knowledge and awareness of how family acceptance really impacts the LGBTQ plus youth. And, the opposite of that coin is how family rejection really negatively impacts that youth. We're going to review a little bit of language and discuss the important topics and the language that is used by the community. And we're going to review the accepting behaviors and affirming behaviors that really have a positive impact on those families. Oops. Here we go. So real quickly, we have a lot of people here, and I'm sure that it's not the first time that you've gone through something like this. Real quickly, can we define LGBTQ plus LGBTQ plus? We're gonna go into definition a little further ahead, but for now, what does the L stand for? If anyone wants to use the chat, let me see if I can see the chat. Apologies. I'm not sure if I cannot see the chat right now. So if you can help me out,
I got you.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
we got everyone saying lesbian, which is correct.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What's the G stand for?
All right, gay,
Unmute
correct.
yourself. It's faster. The B stands for, I see someone that hasn't unmuted, but I see you saying bisexual.
Yeah, I got bisexual.
That's correct. What's the T stand for?
Transgender, good.
Transgender, perfect. And the Q?
Queer, yeah,
Queer,
queer.
queer. Also questioning.
Questioning.
It's
Mm-hmm.
another way to use the Q. And the plus, just anyone knows what the plus means? Let me see. I think I found it. Any other sexual identity? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
There's other identities. Exactly. And so just acknowledging that there's many others. Thank you so much. So real quickly, I want to ask us to reflect. When was the first time that we remember hearing the words gay, trans, LGBTQ? What context did that came up? Was it positive and negative? Many of us, there's different generations here in this group. So if you can share a little bit, it can be you can unmute, or if you can just share real quickly.
I'll share. My family is Caribbean, Jamaican, and I would say negative. It hasn't always been the most positive when growing up.
That's a lot of our experiences. That's correct. Thank you so much, Cindy. I am uh, Puerto Rican, grew up over in the island as well, and I do remember everybody hushing up when they were talking about a family member that was part of the community, like, your aunt, the one that lives in New York, kind of thing, like lowering the voice. A lot of slurs in the 90s. Thank you so much. Um, Okay, I see. A lot of slurs, but since the 90s, things started changing a little bit. That is correct. Thank you so much, Karen. Absolutely. And the reason why we're thinking about this is because the way it has impact all those negative thoughts, the way society overall is looking at the population, has had an impact in health disparities. So in about 2016, the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities finally really identified the LGBTQ community as one that is very affected and inequality as an inequality population. So those groups are also referred to as sexual and gender minorities. And the data shows that populations of all ages are really disproportionately experiencing more instances of mental health, substance use, um, suicidality, poor well-being outcomes compared to heterosexual or cisgender peers. So these um, disparities are especially regarding concerning regarding youth, of course, that which is our focus. So it's been again a lot of studies, and I want to mention that we have a lot of quotes that of studies and research that has been very well documented, and some of it maybe has disappeared from their websites in the last year since the policy has changed. But there has been decades of studies pointing out that youth and again LGBTQ plus populations face a variety of stressors like harassment, family and peer rejection, isolation, and a lack of sense of belonging that really have a major impact in their overall well-being. Also, when we're talking about these populations, it's really important to talk or think about intersectionality as a very important, obviously, consideration when we're thinking about the LGBTQ populations. We have to consider, again, all the intersectionality, such as age, race, right? Socioeconomic status, ability, etc. So we're not going to get too deep into that today, but it is important that when we're thinking about these populations, we're really considering that. It's important to say out loud also that even though, again, the LGBTQ has been documented as being more affected by these issues, folks are not inherently prone to depression or isolation or suicide or substance use because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather because they are at greater risk due to the way they're mistreated and stigmatized by society. I'm sorry I'm missing some of the chat. Absolutely. Also, the blame and stigma as well uh, when facing AIDS, introducing AIDS in the 80s. That is correct. So, why is sleep focusing on the LGBTQ plus youth specifically and family rejection? There were studies done, there have been studies done and follow-up surveys that confirm the information. They found that family rejection critically really affects and impacts mental health, physical health, and again, like we said, overall well-being. There's an important study that was done in 2009 in San Francisco from the Family Acceptance Project that really help move the policy changes that started happening in the early 2000s, whereas before the practice used to be a little bit more punitive and separating the family in order to support the young person. In the early 2000s, it was clear that family support was the best practice, and so the policy started shifting towards that, and the studies again started trying to make sure that the families were better supported so they could support their young kids. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that study and what has come out from the study, and that continues to show as true. For example, this is something that from 2009 came out in the study, and uh, the surveys that have been done, because this study was very comprehensive. We talk about this study, but there's been a lot of surveys and follow-up research that are looking at the same issues. In here, we can see how youth who experience high levels of rejection from their families are over 3 times more likely to abuse substances than youth who experience low rejection from their families. Those that use substances is cut in half for families that are what they call moderately rejecting only. Oops, sorry. The risk of HIV we see here as well. It's over 3 times more likely or to be a greater risk for HIV infection than youth that are part of the LGBTQ plus community who experience low levels of family rejection. Again, the risk is cut significantly with families who have moderate or low rejection. And moving on, the lifetime suicide attempts. So this is one that is very concerning. It still shows very highly in studies that have been and research that is following up and more recent. This show how serious the impact of high levels of family rejection has on gay and transgender LGBTQ young adults. Folks who come from highly rejecting families are over 8 times as likely to have attempt suicide as peers, I'm sorry, who reported no levels or no rejection from the family. So this is something that is really, really affecting, and we consider that again when family acceptance comes into play, you really are saving a life. The study also shows uh, the youth that can believe they can be happy. So when LGBTQ plus youth are accepted and supported by their family, they're much more likely to believe that they could have a good life, a happy life, a productive adulthood, to be a productive adult. Because acceptance really encourages good decision making regarding sexual encounters, health, staying in school, right? Educational and social peer influence. So again, youth that are more supportive, supported by families, um, those that are accepted are less likely to suffer depression, less likely to be anxious, less likely to have suicidal ideations or attempts, and again, less sexual risk behaviors for HIV. So, all that to say that obviously family matters. We know this overall, but with regards to this particular population, over 15 years of research are giving us the best practices, right? That the best results happen when the family is really supporting their young person. So if we know, and we've been documented and it's been talked about, that families are important, that their support is crucial, why do we think that families have a tougher time accepting their LGBTQ plus youth? Can anyone unmute or share what do we think are the barriers to family acceptance? Anyone, best guess, are good.
Most of the time, it's based on religion, their religious teachings.
Religious popped up correctly there we go.
I was gonna say feeling like you did something wrong as a parent, like you didn't, um,
Parents.
uh, feeling like they failed at something.
Absolutely. There's a lot of like feelings for the parents, a lot of cultural and religious belief. Like there's a lot of people. Thank you for unmuting. It's faster for me than me looking through to find the chat. But absolutely, there's religion, there's cultural beliefs. Parents automatically think like, oh, I failed, I did something wrong, I didn't pay attention. This is someone's fault for sure, right? Like there's a lot of family dynamics that happen at times. Absolutely, all of those are correct. General homophobia and the culture, absolutely. So all of those that you've mentioned, I'm going to make sure that I put them up here. Um, so absolutely, they have a lot of things to relearn. Parents probably picked up misinformation about LGBTQ plus people, right? So supporting the youth, they'll grow out of it. Thank you, Karen. Absolutely. Supporting youth may mean that we have to unlearn many stereotypes, many myths that we have been handed down from generations, from family, church, community, right? So if you are in the position to educate, if you are a service provider in this call, and make sure that those parents are connected to the support they need, that they can help guide this conversation. If you're a parent, you have a family member that maybe, right, that you may have, a nephew that, may be having trouble with their family, they're coming out and the family is not accepting. Again, this is something that you may be able to assist with. So some of the challenges that we see here, of course, um, stigma of stereotypes, right? Like so how you're going to live like that, how are you going to make a living, you're not going to have children, right? Like parents immediately just fear for their youth, right? Like they fear that they're going to get harmed, you're going to get bullied. There's a self-blame. Someone said that before, self-blame or shame. Absolutely.
And
um
fear of legacy, can I add that too? That their
say
legacy won't live on. I said fear of legacy, that their legacy won't live on because they're not producing
Absolutely,
or not able to produce.
that is something that comes up every time you speak to parents. They automatically feel like in all the dreams that often we don't verbalize about the hopes and dreams that we have for our children. And I'm gonna do the 16th, like the big party, and then you're gonna get married this particular way and buy, have 3 children. All those dreams get crumbled up. So absolutely, there's a lot of issues and concerns that are rising for the parents, and that just gets transmitted to the child automatically. So what we're asking is how to help the families. Of course, LEAP is a program that is focused on helping these families, but many of us that are out in the community that are, like doing services or even just literally living in community, which we all do, um, have the opportunity to help those families. And the way of helping is, again, making sure many parents are in their own journey. They must know that they can move from where they are towards acceptance, right, and understanding, and hopefully adapt and adjust over time. Someone said they'll grow out of it, which is exactly what we hope for many of our families. Um, so they can be more knowledgeable of the child's identity, so they are better able to express the support and advocate for their child. So again, we basic stuff that we always ask and remind everyone: reflect, help the parent reflect on why they're struggling with acceptance. Encourage them to speak openly, right? Like that's communication 101. That's something that we always have to get a refresher for parents every so often, that we need to make sure that we um, parents that the best action is to minimize the harm that they can do when their perspective is very harsh, right? Like, so if they immediately react in a negative way and are very challenged by what's happening to the child, that's going to be very tough on the child, and it doesn't have to be permanent. The communication can improve. We also ask again to make sure that we're providing educational information and referrals at all times for a parent that might be struggling, and hopefully stick up for the child, right? Like and stay by the young person um, until they get a better understanding on how to support their youth. So we also, as part of, the reflection that we are helping families to go through, and again, it could be our own family or families we're working with, it's making sure that we sort of like help them identify rejecting behaviors that they should avoid. For the most part, if we're providers or if we're like neighbors, we know what we can tell our neighbor, like, let's make sure that you don't do this. Well, maybe talking to your child that way is not really uh, beneficial. How about trying this other way? So this is a little similar to that. It's important to identify those behaviors and sort of make sure that we say them out loud. So we speak and help identify those for the families, because those negative behaviors can cause harm. So some of those are not allowing someone to speak openly about their gender identity, right? We know a lot of families that are like, you are who you are, but just here, just don't say it outside, right? Don't go to the neighbors, don't be sharing that with your grandfather. Um, Anyone has any other experiences or any other or want to read through the list or can think of others? For example, one that we always make sure that people know is that a rejecting behavior is refusing to use someone's name and pronouns the way they want to express or be referred to. Right? So let's make sure that when a family is like, no, I'm not going to call you that, or I'm not going to use those pronouns for you. I know who you are. I gave birth to you. That's a rejecting behavior. And again, it's something that it really affects the young person. So we have a list here, um, blaming someone when they're bullied, right? Or discriminated against. We often find people that say, well, oh, you were bullied today. That's because you were wearing that, right? Or being judgmental in some way and blaming the victim, really. So we have a list here. There are lists as long as 50. There are materials out there. We're happy to share more. But for now, I'm going to ask if there's any questions, because I want to make sure that Monroe helps us with learning the terms and the terms and language. Any questions or concerns that come up immediately before we move to terminology, which is something that we need in order to make sure that we all have the basic knowledge to help be more affirming for that population. If there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and ask Monroe, and I'll help you with the slides, Monroe.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Monroe. I am the health educator for the LGBTQ plus Education and Acceptance Project, and I use he, they pronouns. And I will be helping you with getting accustomed to the terms and terminology that is used to most accurately talk about and discuss the queer community. So, next slide. Okay, so we're going to go over what LGBTQ plus stands for. So, of course, in the beginning of this presentation, we already went through each letter, but having the proper definitions for each sexuality and identity is really important for making sure that when people are talking about their identities, we know what they are talking about. So starting off with L, the L stands for lesbian, and a lesbian is a woman or girl who's attracted to other women or girls. And we're keeping things very, very simple. So we're doing very much one-on-one information, but a woman or girl who is attracted to other women or girls. The G stands for gay, and it is a man or boy who is attracted to other men or boys. You will often also hear this used by the more general community. And it's become a term that's been used more as an umbrella term for people to describe themselves as non-heterosexual. So someone who's describing themselves as gay may not be a man or boy attracted to other men or boys, but they might just be using it as an umbrella term. The B stands for bisexual, And a bisexual person is someone who is attracted to their own gender and other genders. I'm sure you're familiar with previous definitions of bisexual, with focused a lot more on the two binary sexes. But as we've kind of understood, the reality behind identity and gender identity, the definition has been expanded to our current definition, which is someone who's attracted to their own gender and other genders. The T stands for transgender, and transgender individuals are people whose gender identity differs from the sex that they were assigned at birth. And we'll get more into what sex assigned at birth means in a future slide. And the Q stands for queer and questioning. Queer is another umbrella term that is used by people who don't identify as straight or cisgender. It's a term that's been reclaimed by the queer community, but it's really important to not use the word unless the person themselves has used the word to describe how they identify, because some people do still take offense to that word being used towards them. And then there's also questioning. Questioning are people who might be, in the process of discovering their identity, or people who are more comfortable identifying as questioning and may never end up as a specific identity. So someone may be questioning but never end up as lesbian or gay, but they feel comfortable just, recognizing that they do have that question and identifying as that. Of course, we have the plus, which encompasses all the other identities that are not in the main acronym, but oftentimes you might see the expanded acronym LGBTQIA, QIP2SA. So the I stands for intersex, and we'll talk about what intersex is, or what it is to be intersex in a future slide. P stands for pansexual. The 2S stands for two-spirited. Two-spirited is an identity that was formed by a coalition of Native tribes in North America to describe the third gender that existed and that exists in a lot of the Native tribes. And the A stands for asexual, which are people who do not experience sexual attraction. It's really important to remember as we discuss these identities and these terms that these are all just starting points, and that the community is very diverse, and that not every single identity is going to be covered here. And you will also never know everything. And it's not your job to really know every single identity. What's important and what truly matters is that we are listening to our youth and respecting how they define themselves, and keeping the conversation open, inclusive, and approaching them with full understanding, and just letting people be who they are. It's not something that you have to be a scholar on, but being an ally, being an affirming person just means really respecting how that person identifies. So now we're going to get into the four corners of identity that are really core to discussions about gender identity and sexual orientation. Of course, we know that identity expands, way beyond just gender identity or sexual orientation. Like Gloria mentioned earlier, it's important that we recognize and keep in mind intersectionality when it comes to discussing the issues that queer individuals encounter in society. So other identities are, your racial identity, your ethnic background, socioeconomic background, all these things that inform who you are as a person. But these four corners of identity are things that people within the community just have to think about more than those who are not in the community. So getting back to sex assigned at birth, it's kind of exactly how it sounds. So when you are born, most people, when they are born, the doctor will take a look and determine whether you are male or female. And then on your birth certificate, you will either be assigned female at birth, or you will be assigned male at birth. However, there is a community of people who do come out with more ambiguous sexual characteristics, and those people are intersex people. And these are individuals with internal and or external sex characteristics that do not easily fit into that male or female binary. So oftentimes they will be elective surgeries decided by the parent or the doctor to correct whatever genitalia is there. And it's been a large scale issue within the intersex community. These kind of surgeries where the child does not actually get to make the decision. And it oftentimes leads to issues down the line through puberty when secondary sexual characteristics start to develop, and they might develop contrary to what is expected for the surgery that the child received. So that's just one of the plights that intersex people are currently, challenging in the medical community right now. So gender identity is a spectrum. I'm sure you've probably heard that gender identity is a spectrum. Our first understanding of gender identity very much aligned with our understanding of sex, which we know there's male or boy, and we have female or girl. But as we've done more research and as people have really started to express themselves more, we've come to recognize that gender identity is a big spectrum and it encompasses a lot of different things. So we see here this gender identity spectrum. You can see at the top left corner, we have man, and at the bottom right corner, we have woman. And then in the bottom left corner, we have agender, which is someone who doesn't really identify with any gender. They don't have a gender. And then we have genderqueer in the upper right corner, which are people who do not subscribe to either binary gender. So they might identify with neither, both, or a combination of genders or something else entirely. But it's a spectrum, and everyone's identity and how they express their identity is different from everyone else. And that brings us to transitioning. So transitioning is the process a person undergoes to align their gender expression with their gender identity. And transitioning can include three different proponents. So there are social transitions, which, is changing your name, choosing a preferred name, using pronouns that more align with your gender expression, changing the way you dress, you're getting your hair done, modifying the way that you move, you speak. So all these things that are social cues about how you identify, those are part of social transitions. There are legal transitions, which are things that go through the legal system. So name changes, sex marker changes on driver's licenses and documents, getting a birth certificate reissued with the correct legal name on it, those things that have to do with interactions with the legal system. And then there are medical transitions, which is what most people think about when they think about transitions. And these are your hormones and your affirming surgeries that people get. It's important to understand. Oh, one more thing. It's really important to understand that not everyone is going to go through all three types of transition. Some people stop at social transition and feel comfortable there. Some people only go through legal transition and feel comfortable there. And some people go through all aspects of transition to feel more comfortable with their gender expression. So it's important not to assume that someone is going to go through all three categories of transition if they don't feel comfortable going through them. Next slide. All right, so let's reflect again. So I just want to ask, what are some ways that you express your gender identity? You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Some examples are how you get your hair done, or maybe the way that you dress, or maybe the way that you speak. I just want to know, or want you to reflect, what are some ways that you feel best when you express your gender identity?
Okay, this is Athenia. For me, it is definitely my hair or my features, my facial features. So like being able to put makeup, lipstick, things of those things like that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that especially makeup plays a big role in some people's gender expression. It makes them feel a lot more comfortable. I see in the chat, dressing up, getting your hair done, your nails done. That's a big part of a lot of people's routine gender expression. Your hair, your nails. Yes, these are all wonderful, wonderful. So that's just to show that everyone has a gender identity that they express one way or another. And that brings us to gender expression. And gender expression is how it sounds. It's describing the way in which we present ourselves, which can include our physical appearance, our clothing, our hairstyles, and our behaviors. It's really important to note, however, that gender expression does not tell us how someone identifies their gender. So the way someone expresses their gender is not the def is not exactly how you might assume their gender to be. So it's very important not to assume someone's gender based on their gender expression, and it's best to ask the person for their pronouns. Typically, you do not need to know how the person identifies specifically unless you are in a more clinical setting. Then it might be important to ask that question. But for the most part, you just need to ask someone's pronouns so that you can properly refer to them. And, make sure you don't assume anyone's gender identity just based on how they look. And so we're going to get into sexual orientation. A lot of these were defined on our slide where we are defining the core acronym, but I just want to show some flags here. So we see on the left, we have the lesbian flag, we have the gay flag, the bisexual flag, the pansexual flag on the far right here. There's the aromantic flag on the bottom, and aromantic people are people who do not experience romantic attraction. They might experience sexual attraction, they might not, but they do not experience typical romantic attraction. And then we have asexual, which are people who do not experience um, classic sexual attraction. So both of those are on spectrums, depending on how romantic or how much romantic or sexual attraction they feel, but they are different from what we consider to be standard. Moving on to our gender pronouns. I'm sure that we all know that pronouns are a huge part of language. Everyone has pronouns, even beyond our typical, beyond the he, him, or she, her, they, them. We have other pronouns like I or you or me. It's a major part of language that helps us refer to others. The most common words that we use to refer to others are they, she, and he. So with they, them pronouns, it's as simple as replacing where you would put her or he or her or him with they or them. So I saw them leave, they took their bag, or the bag is theirs. We already do this throughout our day-to-day lives. We just don't really notice it. Say, for example, if a male person comes and delivers a package for you and you see the picture and someone's like, oh, what are you looking at? You might say, oh, they just delivered a package at my place, or they just delivered a package to my apartment. You're not assuming that the person uses they, them pronouns, but it's the placeholder pronoun you use when you don't know someone's gender. So it's something that we are already used to, or we typically are already used to when we are using pronouns. And so it's the same thing as using she, her, or he, him in place. So I saw her leave, I saw them leave, I saw him leave. It all flows together. Now, what should you do if you get it wrong? What do you do when you get someone's pronouns wrong? Is when you accidentally misgender someone. If you catch yourself misgendering someone in the moment, you just correct yourself briefly and you move on. You don't have to, overly apologize. You don't have to hark too much on it. Just correct yourself and move on. So take, for example, did Lily tell you what time I mean they, would have the report done? It's easy. You just correct yourself and keep moving on with your sentence. If someone else finds or recognizes that you're using the wrong pronoun for someone and they correct you, you just say thank you, correct yourself, and do the same thing. You keep moving on. So yeah, he really, and someone will interject with they, and you correct yourself. You say thank you, they really, and you keep going on with your sentence. If you recognize that someone else is accidentally misgendering someone with the wrong pronouns, then you just quickly interrupt them with the correct pronoun. And yes, this needs to be done every time they use the wrong pronoun until it kind of, some people take a little bit to recognize what's being said. And so until they kind of correct themselves, just keep only saying the pronoun to interject. So if someone's saying, "Can I help her with?" and you notice that they use the wrong pronoun, you interject with him. They'll say thank you and correct themselves and keep moving. It's really, really important not to complain about how hard this is. Don't say, "Oh, this is also new to me. This is so difficult. We have all these new pronouns, this, that, the other." It only centers yourself in a situation where you've already misgendered someone. And so the best course of action is are if you are corrected and you want to just, acknowledge the space that you're in right now, you can say, "Thank you for correcting me. I'm still learning and I appreciate it." You keep it simple, keep it short, and just keep moving on. If you are, working with a specific client or a specific person, or maybe your child has shared with you their preferred pronouns and you want to try practicing it, ask a friend if you can practice using those pronouns on them. So, you know, in a conversation, say, "Hey, I just want to practice using these pronouns. Is it okay if I use these pronouns for you in this conversation, just so I can get in the swing of things?" And then you go on from there. You can also practice by, if you don't have anyone to practice to, you can practice by talking to yourself or, you know, typing things out, like whatever way that helps you get accustomed to it. It's not, there's no shame in needing to practice something that's new to you. It's just important that you put in the effort to make sure that people feel like you are affirming them. And last but absolutely not least, do not apologize profusely. Don't, start saying, "I'm so sorry, I'm the worst, I can't do anything right, this, that, the other." It starts to, again, it centers you in a situation where you've already misgendered someone, and it's not that person's job to make you feel better about misgendering them. And so, best course of action, correct yourself, keep moving. Do I have any questions on that section? Okay, wonderful.
We know that was a lot of information. Any
Yeah.
questions, concerns? Someone mentioned in the chat that they didn't know that we had different flags for the different identities or sexual orientations. There's there's a hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, did you share your contact information? How to get in contact with you by any chance? Did you share that in the chat? And the other question is, I did not know what was it I was gonna say. Oh, when I heard the reason why the L is first,
Oh. Mm.
it made me cry. I cried like crazy when I heard the reason why L is first. But yeah,
Do you want to share it?
I don't want to get it wrong. But I mean, it had to do with the AIDS peer epidemic and how they were the only people that were willing to really help. And so they put their name, lesbians became put first because they were the only ones that were willing to support and help those that were sick and dying from AIDS. So it just made me cry like crazy when I
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah, exactly. If you ever see kind of pamphlets from the 60s or 70s, oftentimes the community is the GLBT community. But like you mentioned, because during the AIDS epidemic, lesbians really stepped up to help take care of gay people or gay men in the community. It was done as like to honor their efforts. And so it's a very heartwarming story. And for our contact information, I'll put it in the chat and it will also be at the end of this presentation.
Yeah, I need a time check. I'm not sure how we're doing, but I want to make sure that we talk about being an ally, right? Everybody can be an ally. It's important to reflect on how we're showing up, not only as a human being, right? Like as a community member, but if you have a role that impacts, society, then make sure that you are reflecting on how you're showing up for your communities. We now have all the competencies, at least the language. We understand a little bit of the terms that are really important for the community, and so we can use them to effectively communicate and better serve across cultural differences. These skills may help you build gaps, bridge for those gaps, and positively really impact lives. This is one of those numbers that are really important for us. This is a very recent survey from the Tribor Project that mentions that LGBTQ plus youth that could identify at least one adult in their life, like a teacher, coach, who accepted them while they were young, are less likely to report a suicide attempt in the past year. And that is a huge number, 40%. Literally, you could be saving a life just by being an ally. And how are we allies? How can we best be an ally? So again, display a flag if you have them. Some of us have them in our desks, right? Like people just know that they are safe, that they could be who they are, or they can at least understand that they can talk about their pronouns when they come and meet with you. Another way that we often ask people to be an ally or show up as an ally, include your pronouns when you're introducing yourself. Don't ask pronouns only of those people that you are in doubt of or that you're not sure. We should all be introducing ourselves and including our pronouns, because again, as we are learning gender expression, it's something that we all have, and it doesn't necessarily, it's hand in hand with the gender identity. So please always ask for name and pronouns when you're introducing yourself, and whenever possible, obviously, again, ask people what pronouns they are using. If you're a provider, we're asking for educate the families that you're working with. A lot of people really don't know that this negative, that this rejection that they're going through with their young folks is really affecting them this hard. A lot of families in that study that was mentioned before, they also did a survey on the parents, and the parents are very surprised to hear the responses and to understand how negative reactions and rejection of the youth really was affecting them. For the most part, parents' response, they kept referring to, they thought they were helping them protect, right? Like, don't act like that. I'm gonna teach you to fight, right? Like in some way, they thought they were trying to protect or toughen up the youth, and it really was really seriously critically affecting them. So again, reminding families that rejection affects the youth in these very specific ways. And these are numbers that are hard to ignore, right? Over 8 times more likely to attempt suicide, substance misuse over 3 times more likely that people that are accepted by families, depression overall and anxiety over 6 times more likely, and HIV infections over 3 times more at risk that youth that were accepted by family. Again, when talking to families, always the most basic thing is to remind them that to express affection, right? To let the children know that they are loved. Even though it may be very hard for us to hear that the young person is not who we thought they were or who we were expecting our children to be, it's very hard for the children. It's a very isolating process, and the parent can't really be there for them. And if you don't know what to say, then, hug speaks volumes. And making sure that we can also verbalize what are the behaviors that help, what kind of behaviors we're asking people to, again, enforce so people feel more accepted and more included in the family. If you all can take some guesses, what are the behaviors, accepting behaviors specifically for LGBTQ plus youth? If you want to unmute, we've mentioned a few or a bunch of them. Please feel free to
Neglect is one of them. Abandonment.
say it one more time.
No, I said neglect and abandonment.
That is a negative, right? Like a rejecting behavior. So what would be the behaviors that help? What would be the positive behavior instead of abandonment? That is
Support. Basically,
support.
communication and understanding of what they're going through and what they're going to be facing in life. It's just like any other stigma you face.
Absolutely, absolutely. In this case, specifically though, we know that it's very attached to their well-being. So super important. All of that that you said was right on. Communication, making sure that you talk respectfully, that you listen about their identity, making sure that you're trying your
The
best to.
the best way to describe it and to hit it on the head, it's just basically look back at what everybody faced when they was growing up, or even leading back to the 1800s when there was slavery and treating people and mistreating people for their skin color. So you just got to date back to that, and that's how you're able to make people understand, because there are different thoughts and different ways of managing that.
Absolutely. There's so many society changes. Thankfully, society changes and values change. But the pace is very slow. I'm sorry, my Spanglish comes out after 3 o'clock. So there's all kinds of communities that have gone through a lot of uh, discrimination. Obviously, again, you mentioned slavery. That's a huge other very long um, uh, training kind of thing, right? But in this case specifically, we're looking at making sure that this community knows that we can still show support, even though maybe emotionally we're not 100%. We're still asking parents and caregivers to take that step, right? To show support even when they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable, right? Like, I still don't understand fully, but if that's what you want to wear, I'm gonna walk with you to the subway. That is absolutely fine, right? Like, so show support even when you're uncomfortable, because eventually we can assure parents that again, through decades of looking at this, families do and are able to change and become more accepting and become more loving again. So if we can minimize the moments, right? Like the critical moments when the children are coming out, or having that moment, that's what we're trying to minimize, that damage that could be done at that moment. Advocate for others when they're mistreated, or due to their identity or um, their identity or their sexual orientation. Require respect from others when they're discussing LGBTQ plus, right? Sometimes we're in groups and someone just starts talking about, in very disrespectful ways, or making jokes about the community. It's important for us to have the language to say that is not okay for me, and I need you to stop, communicating like that in front of me. That is bias, and I don't accept it, right? Like, so again, practicing making sure that we're standing up for others. Um, Showing support for diverse gender expression. Again, asking for pronouns, making sure you share yours. And when you're misgendering someone or using the wrong or the dead name, making sure that you apologize and say that you have it wrong. And super important to make sure that we connect those families to, the support, the affirming organizations and events that are out there. It's really important, not only for the kids. We often make sure that immediately we get the kids into, groups or therapy, or, but the parents also need to make sure that they're supported in ways that they can continue to learn, so they can be there for the young person. And as a provider, we're asking that you have affirming resources available for your clients. Um, yeah, so again, we know we gave a lot of information, but fostering acceptance is super important. We believe we are saving lives by doing this. We are helping generations to come, to make sure that they are strong and healthy. So again, we appreciate all your attention. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, because otherwise we're going to share the evaluation. That if you can have a few minutes, make sure that you can do it, and I think Monroe gave our information in the chat. That's me, Gloria Soto, she, her. Um, a couple of comments up, and Monroe is there as well. Thank you everyone for your attention. Please let me know if you have any questions or concern, or please email us as well. Thank you.
Might you have the URL for that QR code? Because I don't have my phone with me now.
Yes, I'll put in the chat in 1 second.
Thank you, Monroe.
Hi,
Thank
Cindy,
you.
are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that. Thank you so much. We're gonna move forward with the next presenter, Edlin.
Yes, so well, before I present with the next presenter, we've been reviewing the attendance form. So there's a few people that just still need to, well, first of all, everyone has been doing great filling out the attendance form. But there are a few people that just needs to fill it out. So if you can just take the chance to fill it out, that'll be great. But on that note, we will go ahead and present our next presenter. Name is Elliot Lopez, Community Engagement Specialist, Center for Community Alternatives. So you could do a little snap. Elliot, you could just join in.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We have the slides. My partner, Marlene, should be in the first one. So this is us here at Community Alternatives, where we offer substance abuse and other programs, as well as anger management, court advocacy. We also have the ATI program, which we'll be speaking about it in the near future, as Marlene will take care of that. And we also have a TRC, which is the First Trauma Recovery Center in downtown Brooklyn, 25 Chapel Street. Next one. Here, Center Community Alternative, we was founded and believe that solutions to poverty, addiction, and violence rest from the communities, not incarceration. CCA supports and builds power with the people across New York State who have been affected by mass incarceration, criminalization, and community disinvestment. For the past 40 years, CCA has grown into a statewide organization widely recognized for its principled stance on criminal justice reform and its highly impactful program for justice involvement people. Myself, as far as my duty and my job, I'm a community engagement specialist. I actually now I do a lot of community outreach in all 5 boroughs in relation to substance abuse, not just opioid use or fentanyl. It involves everything. And I actually go into either shelters, train stations. If you call me, I go to you, I pick you up. If you have a referral, I actually go and get them, put them in a car, bring them to our organization. We'll run an eye stop to make sure they're not getting medicated somewhere else before we start the process of intake at our organization. And all the assessment and everything is done there. We have clinicians as well who do EKG and basically run them through the process before they actually get medicated and accepted into our program. We also have counselors there. We have peers such as myself. And we also have bilingual, and myself, I know sign language as well. And we also have Greek translators at our organization. And we basically just try to assist them and help them with everything they can. And I also help them with HRA in case they need to get their HRA or Tutari certification. I'll also accompany them to certain places in case they need some advocacy, some help, some peer help and assistance, especially the ones that cannot communicate or express themselves the way they should. So we basically offer a lot where we at. We also have a computer room where they can actually look for jobs or try to build a portfolio in reference to job hunting, apartment hunting, or whatever needs they might be looking for. And we also have art class there where they can actually communicate with individual and express themselves through art and other forms of communication, you know. So we do give them a lot of support in relation to what they need and what they're looking for, and not just treat them like they need to get medicated. We treat them like human beings. We treat them like people, and they love it there. you know. With that, I'm gonna pass to the next slide, and my partner Marlene is gonna speak on other sources and other programs.
Thanks, Celia. Yeah, so can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So CCA's Community Solutions Alternative to Incarceration program serves individuals who are 13 and older and have an open case in Supreme or criminal courts. CCA's Community Solutions program offers services ranging in duration from 2 to 9 months, depending on their mandates. However, mandates can include, or if a mandate is longer than the duration that we typically offer, which is 2 to 9 months, we can accommodate services for longer through our aftercare track. Additionally, to those mandating programs that we offer under the ATI umbrella, we also enrolled individuals voluntarily, and that's a case-by-case assessment that the ATI team goes and oversees. And this all depends on an individual's willingness to participate in program, but also conversations that we usually have with an individual's attorney to see if our ATI program is appropriate for their the client that they're serving. In terms of services available to participants once enrolled in our ATI programs, participants would have access to mental health counseling, substance use treatment, evidence-based group, educational support and advocacy, mentoring services, gender-specific self-regulation, or what the courts normally know it as anger management groups, individualized housing support, curfew monitoring with a limited capacity, since that's something we have seen in the past when working with individuals who are under the age of 18. And it's also case by case. We also offer domestic violence services and groups as well, employment and vocational services, and toxicology screenings on site when needed. Additionally, the service plans, when an individual is enrolled in our ATI programs, they get assigned to a case manager. With their case manager, they collaboratively work in creating a service plan that includes the individual's needs and also interests, and it's all based on the individual's strengths. Which will be addressed through different type of engagement and different type of interventions that they are open to participating in. Additionally, also Community Solutions, which is our ATI program, offers the self-regulation anger management groups that I mentioned earlier in Spanish, and Elliot pointed this out earlier. Like, there's certain departments that do have the capacity to deliver services in Spanish, including myself. We have the capacity to also offer case management services in Spanish. When an individual is referred to our ATI program, there's small eligibility criteria, and that is the individual has to have an open case in criminal Supreme Court anywhere throughout the New York City. We are based in downtown Brooklyn, so ideally if the individual has a commute that is accessible to them, we also have them enroll in our program. But outside of that eligibility, of course, like if the person identifies to have a present psychiatric symptoms that require higher level of care, unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have the capacity to serve individuals who require that higher level of care. We could go to the next slide. Perfect, thank you. So these are a couple of highlights that we have seen throughout the Community Solutions program, our ATI program, specifically with discharge and completion. As of December 2025, 343 participants were discharged. 85%, roughly 290 participants completed their program mandate successfully and experienced a more favorable outcome on their case. And roughly 65% or 189 participants left with a reduced charge or dismissal. And overall, these are the outcomes that we are hoping we are able to support our participants with. The goal is to either have them sentenced to a lesser charge, that being either a misdemeanor or a violation, or overall have their case dismissed. We could go to the next slide, please. Great. And I briefly touched in this specific piece earlier when I talked about the kind of services we offer in-house. So this is a position that we're currently actively trying to fill in, but at the moment we are implementing these life skills services through the one-on-one space that an individual engage in with their case manager. So within the life skills umbrella, we use a person-centered approach that incorporates participants' identify goals and needs into their service plan. Work readiness and employment services are offered through a one-on-one space and group spaces as well. Approach is individualized and based on the participant's level of readiness and goals. A few stats, since July of 2020, 33% of enrolled participants requested support on educational planning or vocational training, and 46% of participants requested support with job placements. So participants have the opportunity to connect with their case manager and work with them to explore educational opportunities, that being applying for higher education or re-enrollment in like a GED program, or if the individual is a minor, supporting them with the transfer to a different schools. We could go to the next slide here. Thank you. So our mental health services. So under our ATI umbrella, our Community Solutions Program, we do offer mental health services. Our ATI team counts with a mental health component that provides one-on-one support to individuals who have opted into mental health services and support them with building a journey towards self-awareness and personal growth. This is something that is totally up to the individual if they're interested in participating, but it's also based on any sort of what we would say like red flags or things that came up in the screening that we will feel it would be better addressed in a space that does incorporate those different kind of modalities, the therapeutic modalities to and interventions to ensure that the individual's receiving the appropriate services. We could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Elliot mentioned briefly in our new healing center, our trauma recovery center. This is a new, I would say, program that recently started in our 25 Chapel location in downtown Brooklyn. The trauma recovery centers follows the nationwide model of National Alliance of Trauma Recovery Center. The model is designed to bring mental health services and healthcare, social services, and legal resources to address the aftermath of trauma, including evidence-based mental health treatment, intensive clinical case management services, referrals, and care coordination, assertive outreach and engagement, and court advocacy. So overall, within when an individual is referred to our trauma recovery center, we can kind of see it as a one-stop shop where the individual is connected with a therapist, and that therapist has that background in supporting them with connecting them to additional resources within the community. Because through the trauma recovery center, we recognize that a lot of the things that go in our social environment does affect our mental health. That being like, let's say if a person doesn't have housing, if a person doesn't have employment, all of that can add additional stress, hence affecting our mental health. We could go to the next slide. Perfect. So as I mentioned, the TRC incorporates mental health service and clinical case management. Is a two-part, you can say, structured, and it's the way that it's delivered with the intention of being sure that the person is having access to multiple services in one space. Participants will receive 16 sessions of trauma-informed individual counseling services. An extension of up to 32 sessions is offered to participants when continuous symptoms near the time of completion. Evidence-based approach are utilized with a focus in anxiety management skills, emotional regulation, and modalities for repression trauma. So with this specific, actually, we could go to the next slide because I was just going to touch base on different areas that the clinical case management touches on and some of the goals. So within the TRC, Clinicians work with the participants to address and provide different type of services, that being providing resources on the linkage with financial entitlement, and a lot of things fall under this umbrella, like survivors of specific violence can be eligible to receive some sort of financial compensation. So that is a conversation the clinicians usually have with their participants. The clinicians also offer community resources, that being ranging from, again, housing, food pantries, anything that the individual is in need at that moment. They also provide linkage to aftercare services. Our TRC, our healing center, is short term. So when it comes time where an individual is getting ready to get discharged, we do connect them to further mental health services, which is more long term if they're interested. And that is, again, something that we assess case by case. And lastly, legal advocacy. If needed, like if the individual has any other open case or needs some sort of service or resource to a legal team, we provide that service as well. You could go to the next slide. Thank you. So as I mentioned, there's 11 core elements when it comes to the Trauma Recovery Center. One is, again, we serve survivors of all type of violent crimes, assertive outreach and engagement with underserved population, comprehensive mental health and support services. We do come with a multidisciplinary team. Again, our clinicians have that experience with case management as well as mental health. And we're in the process of also hiring a nurse practitioner to be able to support with making those appropriate referrals and complete certain screenings. We offer coordinating care tailored to the individual's need, clinical case management, inclusive treatment for clients facing complex trauma. Our clinicians use a trauma-informed care, evidence-based practices with a goal-driven approach. There's accountable services as well, and all individuals are welcome. Perfect. And the eligibility screening. I briefly touched on this earlier. So since our Trauma Recovery Center is based in New York City, we are only able to provide services to New York City residents. And the individual has to be 18 or over. This is a program that is fully voluntary for all individuals, but the criteria is 18 or older. If for any reason we do receive a referral for someone who might be under the age of 18 and is shy away from turning 18, we do like to also coordinate them and with our existing partners that we have, make a referral externally. Survivors of violent crimes and trauma within the last 3 years, that is a piece of the eligibility criteria. So in order for a person to be eligible, they must have been a survivor of a crime that happened within the last 3 years. An exception is applied, though, to the 3-year criteria for individuals who are already receiving services through our other departments. Also, participants should not be receiving any other mental health services outside. And that's specifically for the reason of avoiding to having the individual engage in duplicated services, since we do know, like, the history of it could be very challenging for a person having to retell their story and having to work on building the rapport with the new therapist. So that's something we do assess as well. And lastly, the participant does not present with any need that requires any higher level of care. We're still in the early stages where we're hoping to bring in new folks on board, where we can then eventually work with individuals who require the higher level of care. We could go to the next slide. Perfect. Thank you. And another program within the Center for Community Alternative is our neurodivergent program. And the diversion program aims to reduce youth and young adults incarceration by increasing access to mental health and well-being services, including social support and investing in their future. This diversion program is a collaboration with the Department of Health and community organizations, as well as community members that are open to. Oh, sorry, I was just reading the chat. Yeah, so we do have one of our partners on the call as well. Tiffany, if she's on the call, yes, she's on the call, and she is our partner from the Department of Health. Um, as I mentioned, this is a program that is relatively new, but the goal here is to connect with individuals, I would say youth and young adults, ages 13 to 21, who don't have any open cases, but could have had an open case in the past. And the goal here is to divert them to services and put them in spaces that are youth-based. The eligibility criteria involves the age, completing the intake assessment, diagnosed with a mental illness or occurrent disorder, or at risk of engaging in in, uh, in different activities. Or at risk or actively experiencing mental health crisis. As I mentioned, no current contact with the justice system, including probation, parole, open warrants, jail, court, or prison. However, that's also sort of a case by case. And with our experience, we have been able to work with individuals who have had open cases and ACS might be involved, and we like to troubleshoot those those pathways so that we can ensure that at the end of the day the young person is connected to services. We could go to the next slide. Thank you. And I'll just pass it over to my colleague, either Elliot or Mariana, if they're on the call, to touch on the behavioral health services.
Yes, we actually are open from 7 to 7, but we start dispensing at 7 a.m. and we stop at 12:30, bearing that one of the participants is running late. They'll give them that courtesy time because that's what time they usually shut down. However, we will always love for the participants when they're doing intake to try to be there as early as possible, because usually intakes take between an hour and a half to 2 hours and 30 something minutes with the assessment that's being done. And also they got to see medical as well. So earlier, the better. We also have what is called an ambassadors meeting, which we have every 2 to 3 weeks, where the participants get to sit with us and everyone else and to express themselves on what they're trying to do with their life and what they look forward to. And there's no judging there. That everybody has a voice, everybody speaks on what they feel or what needs to be done and what are the changes they're looking for in life, and also within the program as well, because they are the leaders. We all are the leaders of the program, and we all have a voice, and we all are there to lift and help each other in relation to what we're going through in life and what we've been through. And to piggyback also on what Gloria has said earlier about substance abuse being a big use in the LGBT community, LGBTQ plus community as well, there is a higher rate in that in the usage because of what they face. And we support everyone. We do not, not discriminate. We accept everyone, every person. If they do not have Medicaid or Medicare, we'll help them try to get it. If not, we do copay as well. And undocumented, they could come as well. So we have the door open for everyone that is in need of our help, of our assistance. As I stated before, at 6:30 in the morning, if I have to go get them, meet up with them and bring them to our office, go pick them up, take a Uber, drop them off, so they won't have to worry about feeling a certain way while they're on the train, or if they're actually going through withdrawals, so these are things that we offer. And now if Mariano, our Assistant Director, would like to say something, then I'll leave it to her.
Sure. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for having us and the great presentations. Thanks to my colleagues Elliot and Marlene for giving an overview of the range of services we have here. And we would like to invite you, if you're in the area, 25 Chapel Street, reach out to us. We would love to give you a tour of the premises and meet with us individually and with the staff and see what services we have here. We have the Behavioral Health Wellness Center. It offers pretty much, it's Oasis licensed outpatient substance use treatment. And we know with all the opioid crisis and needs in the community, we in the past 5 years have been able to not only partner with other agencies that offer methadone and Suboxone and such, but be able to offer it on site as well for our participants that's kind of the substance that they're working towards. the substance that might be the one that we're working on could be anything. It could be alcohol. We work with people with open cases for DWIs, others that are more of kind of a reduction model. They want to minimize use, others that would like to pursue more of the abstinence track. We have a very collaborative team, multidisciplinary, on-site medical providers, as well as clinicians, counselors, peers, and core advocates and administrators that work together. It's very person-centered. Participants from day one, they're fully engaging. We ask them, what they want to see more of. They build their own committee, like Elliot mentioned, which is great to see because it could be participants that are not used to being in a group, or they have a certain misconception of how groups might be. We were able to add a wonderful curriculum for LGBTQ plus and addiction, as well as having a liaison for that. So we're always asking the community members what it is that drives them and motivates them every day. And we're expanding on the on-site and telehealth. We do offer like a hybrid model as well. So some of our groups are in person, others virtual, and others are hybrid. So we want to minimize barriers for engagement. And the group offerings, the staff members bring in all their passions. Like we might have one that's into mindfulness and recovery. Elliot and I co-facilitate wellness groups and recovery, relapse prevention, life skills, trauma, anger management, emotional regulation, domestic violence prevention. So, and we keep adding, we hear what people want. We're about to add like a yoga group for April. So again, person-centered, the person is involved collaboratively with us, and we meet them at the level that they are. And we understand that some they might have legal challenges or come to us when maybe they're not they're facing some challenges. So we have that team support and partnering with all the agencies as the great ones we have here to reach out and spread the word and support all our community members. So please reach out to us. How would you referrals? Like Elliot did mention about the insurance process. There's no barrier, but if someone is eligible for insurance and they don't know how to get it, we work with other partners such as NADAP. If the person gives the okay, the consent, and they're eligible, the turnaround time is pretty quick. We want them to have insurance for their own self and their health. That's the main concern. We can help them get it. We've been with them to HRA offices, trying to minimize barriers for them to get to where they need to for whatever goals that they have. If it is a person that's out of network, it's a self-paced sliding scale. We discussed this from the beginning, but
Maria, and if you don't mind me jumping in just very quickly,
Okay.
for like the Trauma Recovery Center or TRC, where someone can access mental health services, that is free. Like we don't require any health insurance, but if the individual does want support with applying for health insurance to receive services externally, that being related to medical reasons, that could be a piece that we can support the individuals as well. But just want to put it out there because I know with mental health services, oftentimes folks do experience that barrier of not having health insurance. The TRC, they receive services up to 32 weeks free of cost.
Thanks, Marlene. And we have participants that are receiving the substance use track and the TRC. So they're working together. And again, if the person is eligible, even if they're in part of a program that doesn't charge anything, they're eligible for insurance, we still want to connect them. So we try to see what their goals are. Same for employment. We do the resume updates, mock interviews, and just trying to figure out what the person's goal is and how we could support them in getting closer to that goal while we're with us.
Does anybody have any questions? Please do. Somebody have to have a question.
Julia Foster has her hands up.
Okay.
Hi, and this isn't a question just for you guys, but for anybody in the group. I'm sure all of us is doing outreach in the community. There's always that one individual where, a topical assessment, we see that the person needs help, but how do you get them to that help? Because I see Selena's here in the call as well. Like, how do you get that person to help themselves? Because of course we are only, service providers, and there's that, personal barrier, how do you get that person to like walk in
Okay, I'll definitely give
without
you.
offending?
I'll definitely give you that answer. The first thing I ask them is why.
Hmm.
That's the first thing. The second thing I ask them, are they in pain? Because the majority of people who use substance abuse, they're trying to numb themselves either through physical pain or mental pain. So these are the things that I look for in relation to being from the streets, being formerly incarcerated, and seeing both ends, from the incarcerated part to the society part, and how they conduct. And then I'll try to look for, why are you doing this? Have you been incarcerated, or what are you going through? So I speak to them, and then I put myself in a position of, look, although I've never been a substance abuse abuser, I have brothers and family, because I share these personal uh, um experiences that I had with relatives, you know, and then I look for the common ground, and I basically let them know, like, listen, I'm here for you if you need, because the thing is, it's also sharing, it's also caring, and it's also expressing that empathy towards them, that they are people out here that do care about them and are there for the support. And believe it or not, at least I'm very successful in that part, because when they see somebody that can relate to them, that's when they become that magnet towards you. And if they don't have no connection, they're not going to listen to you. Just like a kid. If you go to schools and you speak to these kids that are doing a lot of crazy stuff, the first thing they're going to look at you is like, you ain't never been locked up. What the hell who the hell is you to tell me this? So these are the things that I look for on the individual to see how he can interact with me.
And I would like to add a little bit to that, like from our experience working with youth through the diversion program or the ATI program, those who are under the age of 18, oftentimes a young person is never asked what are the things that they want. And that's how we try to design our approach. Like we want to ask the young person, what are some of their interests? What are, maybe mom or dad or their legal guardians are saying like, this person needs mental health, but maybe the young person doesn't really understand what that means yet. So we try to focus on speaking to the young person and asking them directly, like, what are your interests? Is it just extracurricular activities? Do you want to be involved in like martial arts? Let's connect you to something that drives your passion. And then from there, just go on having more in-depth conversations with them that are more tailored to, like if it is mental health, how can we talk about mental health without you feeling like you're being judged? So our approach does change a lot when it comes to talking to and trying to have young people engage in services.
Yeah, I've seen this in action a lot. And I think another thing is really working with other agencies where the people go and establishing that communication and trust. Sometimes when there's events, I've seen Elliot, we've gone down there, Marlene, might have some supplies, even hygiene products, and just open up conversations in a non-judgmental way, and also just providing the information. And we even tell people, you want to come check out the space? No, you don't have to do it, commit today. It depends on the urgency and the need. But it's that, here's the information and we're available. And sometimes it's also helpful if people are going to a certain spot to revisit. Like there's certain places we'll go to like every Tuesday afternoon. So that people know like you're there and they can ask those questions and get connected. Because sometimes they might not even be needing our services specifically, but we know where to direct them for whatever it is that they need.
And I also give them some humor too, because everything cannot be serious when in this kind of line of work, as crazy as it might sound and professionally, but you have to make them feel comfortable. If you make anybody feel comfortable, they're gonna gravitate to you.
Thank you so much for that. We want to give some time for the providers that are on to share any updates. The work presentation was amazing. Thank you so much. So
You're
now we're
welcome.
going to open up to everyone else on the call. If you want to share any updates at all, this is the time where we do program updates. So the table is open.
Good
Hi.
afternoon, everyone. Is that someone? Go
I'll
ahead.
be
I
quick.
don't have the hand raise feature, so I was just gonna go, but I'll go after you. Go right ahead.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick. I'm Charlene Gordon from the New York City Department of Health, the Education Community Partnership Unit. I place in the chat, we have a number of webinars coming up, virtual webinars. So I placed that information in the chat. If you're interested or, want us to do any type of presentation, my contact information is in the chat. We are available to do presentation in person and virtual on environmental hazards to your families or your parents that you're working with. And again, we also have the virtual option if you're interested in that format. Thank you. And again, my contact is in the chat if you need to reach me. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Charlene. My name is Shemaine Sears, and I'm with the Trauma Recovery Center with Rising Ground. I just want to showcase that we have Parenting Journey coming up in March. And if you have any parents that you know that would need any parenting classes, you could just send them our way. We also have yoga for children as well, which will be conducted on March 20th. And that's a Friday. I will share the flyers and everything else with that. And Marlene, is there a way that we could connect with you? Because our TRC take from 0 to infinity. So if you have any referral, you could send them to us at Rising Ground.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I definitely put our contact information in the chat so we can always connect through that way.
Okay, thank you. And for those who I've been going fast with, I'm sorry, I just wanted to give more time to other agencies to give their information as well.
Thank you. Selena?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Cindy, for this time and opportunity. I just wanted to share. My name is Selena. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Senior Community Engagement Specialist at New York Psychotherapy and Counseling Center. We also have available openings, specifically at our Bushwick site, both in person and virtual. I put my contact information in the chat box. We serve ages pretty much 3 to 100. We see children, families, and adults. And we're open 7 days a week with no wait list. And we're also open late hours for the convenience of our community members. Monday through Friday, we're open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And our virtual sessions are held up until 10 p.m. at night. So just that flexibility for our community members. We handle anything that's underneath the mental health umbrella, like stress, anxiety, bullying, grief, and so on and so forth. If you have any questions or like to connect with me or would like for me to present or do a workshop for your parents or colleagues, please feel free to reach out. I will also put that link in the chat box as well. I wish you all a safe rest of these final days of winter and hope that the spring will shine upon our faces soon. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, Selena. Marsha?
Oh, hi, everyone. It's my first time here. My name is Marsha Wharton. I am at My Time Inc. And I would like to invite you all to our Lunch and Learn on Tuesday, March 10th, right here at Parkside. I think this is where you all normally have the monthly meetings. It is from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's 640 Parkside Avenue, Suite 502, 5th floor. It's about the social care network. It's designed to provide care management, housing, nutrition, and transportation services to eligible Medicaid members through the social care network. Seating is limited and refreshments will be provided. You can RSVP at info@mytimeinc.org or 718-975-0296. I look forward to seeing some of you there, or you all can refer someone to the event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else want to add any more updates about their program, upcoming events, resources? Selena, you want to go again?
Yeah.
No, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
No, you're okay.
Suzette, Miss Jack. Can you hear me?
We hear you, Suzette.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Suzette Jules Jack from Hope and Healing Family Center. We have a diaper distribution where parents, in order for them to be eligible, they must reside here in Brooklyn, even if they're in a shelter. We also have a breast milk depot, and we have a birth summit coming up in April 13, the 15th, and the 16th for families that has children that have special needs or babies or families that have babies in the NICU. So the hours is from 11 to 1 at 422 Central Avenue. And my number is 347-384-1494. I will send Miss Reed the flyer and the save the date so you guys can see it, and hopefully you will be able to attend or give your clients the information that they could come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Julia, is that an old hand or you want to add something?
Oh, yes. Good evening, Cindy. It's been a while. My apologies, but I'm glad to see you guys are going in full force, giving wonderful content as usual. In the world of adult education with DOE, we have gone through some structural changes since I last spoke. We have a new adult learning center supporting the East Flatbush community, School 6. Registration protocol. Basically, it's a link that you set in appointments. We have our enrollment center where people can walk in and register at PS6. And we do have classes continually throughout Brooklyn, Nostrand Avenue, Bushwick High School, and the other parts of Brooklyn. So if you do have clients that span other areas, we do service those areas. I'll just I think everybody has my contact, but I'll leave it in the chat. We are continuing our Spanish GED and English as a second language, daytime, evening, and Saturday mornings for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. I think we have a minute for one more or two more. Does anybody else have any updates they want to share before we close out? Okay, we want to thank everybody for everything that they shared. We remembered to record the meeting this time, so please look out for the recording along with the PowerPoints that was shared today and all of the information that was dropped in the chat. We will also include the chat notes in that share out of today's meeting. Just gonna go to the next slide. We encourage you to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at East Flatbush Partnership. And if you haven't got a chance, Edlin, just checking in with you. Do we have a good participation with the attendance form? Edlin? So just one more time, if you haven't got a chance, please complete the attendance form. And just to share, we serve District 17, which includes Erasmus, Flatbush, Farragut, and Rugby-Resme Village. And those zip codes include 11203, 11210, 11212, and 11226. And we just thank you again for everyone that joined us today. We'll leave the meeting open for anyone who wants to take anything from the chat, but also that information will be shared with everybody.
Yes, attendance looked great, actually. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome, Edlin. Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Stay warm.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm sorry, but could you provide me with an email to the person that I could send like our upcoming activities to?
Sure, you can send it to me. I'm dropping my email in the chat right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cindy.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, everyone, continue to stay safe and warm. Thank you so much for your time today.